What's going on, everyone? So this season, we have really followed this journey of Tabitha, right? She gets out into the real world. She ends up finding Henry, and then in doing so, she learns that she is one of the chosen. That just like Miranda, Tabitha had connections to Fromville in the past. We find out that she had kind of these nightmares, these dreams as a child, but that Miranda, Victor's mother, was a chosen one prior, and that there was a history of chosen ones. They had all failed prior, but Tabitha appears to be the one that may change that and break that streak. But it was like, well, how did you get into the real world? Like, what happened here? And this season has been really about unlocking the past and unlocking memories and starting to trudge through just the history of various characters, and even Victor, right? Like, kind of this whole season has really been heavily in Victor kind of digging up his old memories and trying to remember as much as possible. And this episode 9, season 3, we finally got confirmation for a theory that has been going around for quite some time. It's a theory many of you have pointed out. It's a theory that I have talked about, made videos on it. I know other people have made videos on it because it's a very popular theory. And that is the theory of reincarnation and whether Tabitha is really Miranda. And turns out that seems to be the case. So in episode 9, we ended the episode with Tabitha having memories of Miranda's death. So Miranda ended up going to the bottle tree, and then we found out that she was attacked by Smiley. Smiley actually ran after her, which is surprising because they don't run, but literally ran after her, and we saw that Miranda ended up meeting her in. So we actually got the answer on how did Miranda die, because prior to that, it was like, okay, well, did Christopher do it? Did one of the monsters do it? Did she end up going into the tree and being like the rock? Remember when Victor threw the rock into the tree and it came smack down on the ground? Like, what ended up happening to Miranda? How did she meet her end? And then we found out it was at the hands of Smiley. But Tabitha had the memories. So there's only so many possibilities that could lead to that. One would be that either Fromville is giving Tabitha those memories. Two, that Miranda somehow, some way, whether it's maybe a connection through being chosen, just like Miranda was, or maybe Miranda's spirit is implanting those memories and kind of answering questions that Tabitha may have. Or the other option is that Tabitha is actually the reincarnated version of Miranda. And if I'm being honest, I believe that that's going to end up being the case. I think that she is the reincarnation of Miranda. I think it's been a common theory. I also think it's a very common just horror movie trope, period. And at the end of the day, this is still a series, still a show, still a movie. And, we've talked heavily about throughout, the show of all these characters being this iteration of past characters, right? So you have, Tabitha being Miranda, Jade being Christopher, so on and so forth, right? And how these appear to be the versions that will probably solve the puzzle, right? That, Miranda and all the various variants of her throughout history have all failed, but Tabitha will probably be the one to figure it out. And if the reincarnation factor takes place, well, then that means that there is that Miranda was likely the reincarnated version of Jessica, just using names, right? And then Jessica is the reincarnation of Ashley, and Ashley is the reincarnation of, Christy, and, you just going all the way back to the 1500s or whenever this place started, right? Like, that is more likely than not the case, that you're constantly having these reincarnations. But it's not just the reincarnation, like there's still things that need to be worked out and resolved, right? So Tabitha, you could argue for the other side to kind of just make it an argument the other way briefly, is she touched Victor, right? She touched the cellar, right? And then because she had like these little phases, these little blackouts several times this episode. First, it was when like she was talking to Victor early on, and then she kind of had this like, she got frozen, and then ended up going to the cellar when the Ankui children, or one of them, ended up leading her to Victor. Also, by the way, Fatima was literally in the other room, which we'll see how that plays out. But you have Tabitha go to Victor. She, while she's entering the cellar, touches the cellar and again blacks out again, kind of, or zones out, phases out, whatever you want to call it, and then ultimately ends up trying to comfort Victor, gives Victor a big hug as Victor's kind of breaking down over Miranda, and then boom, she gets flooded with all these memories and literally sees how Miranda died. So, and saying goodbye and all that stuff. The thing is, though, is that unless it's, memories of Fromville or Miranda relaying that information, it can't be from Victor, because Victor wouldn't have known all that stuff. He stayed in the cellar. So it would have to be either memories from Fromville or memories from Miranda, which I do think is a possibility. But again, I believe that she's going to end up being the reincarnated version of Miranda, right? The Tabitha will be that version. But also, what about the vision she had, or the nightmare she had of the village, right? Because she had nightmares of the village. Is that like previous life? Like, is it Miranda? Is it, Tabitha? Is it just through her connection of Fromville? Was that not really Tabitha, but it was Tabitha, but it was a past Tabitha? Right? Is it possible that, because again, like I said, you have, Tabitha, let's say, is the reincarnated version of Miranda, and then Miranda is the reincarnation version of Jessica, and Jessica is and you go all the way back to, like the pilgrimage. Maybe that was that version, right? Maybe that was from the 1500s or whatever, especially if you look at the kind of clothing and whatnot, right? And another thing, too, is if she's the reincarnation or reincarnated version of Miranda, then I think this also confirms that Jade is the reincarnated version of Christopher. And in this episode, Jade literally sees Christopher and Jasper. So I think that that's going to be the confirmation. I think you're going to have Jade ending up being this version of Christopher that was reincarnated long ago, and then Tabitha is the reincarnated version of Miranda, and so on and so forth. I think that if that's you could, of course, if just because Miranda and Tabitha are the same doesn't necessarily mean that Jade and Christopher are the same, but I think that that's the pattern, right? Because we've seen with right, and Fromville, right? There are these sort of rules, right? And nothing ever changes. Everything's always the same, and so on and so forth. Well, it would make sense that would be the case for these characters, right? Like, why do all these characters keep ending up back there? Because they're all modern versions of past variants, right? And it's probably all the townspeople, right? Tilly probably had a past version, and Jim and Boyd and so on and so forth, right? Like, chances are that it's I don't think it's just one or two characters. I think it's probably a bloodline or a lineage thing, or it's from just the reincarnated versions of these characters. But I really do think that this is confirmation that Tabitha and Miranda are one and the same. That Tabitha is the reincarnated version of Miranda, and I think we're going to kind of unveil this even further as we go on, right? Like, this has been very been very heavy in Tabitha kind of unlocking her memories too, unlocking the past. And I think that we're going to see Tabitha kind of continue to go down this rabbit hole here. And I think that we're going to end up getting that. I think we'll get confirmation, right? Now you could argue that maybe this was the confirmation, but I think we'll get better clarity. I do. I think that they'll kind of really kind of emphasize the point, most likely, or at least I hope so. I hope that it's something where we get her kind of unlock, like maybe Tabitha herself kind of questions it, like, no, I can't be, like, I mean, she even said herself, like, it's impossible. And then turns out, oh, hey, it's not impossible, right? Like, I think that that's probably how this is going to unfold. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion, and I pass question on to you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? What are your thoughts? What do you make of this? Do you think that, yes, clearly Tabitha is the reincarnated version of Miranda? They made that incredibly clear. Do you think that, no, it's still very possible that it's not that she's just getting memories from maybe the spirit or from Vil, or, some other capacity, some other way? Again, however you feel, whatever your thoughts are, I'd love to hear it. So let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me out. So we enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one.